right now from our guest host, Congressman Michael Grimm of New York. He's also a member of the House Financial Services Committee, and we were talking during the break about taxes. You were giving me a hard time about what I was saying about potentially the need for higher taxes on some of those millionaires and billionaires as part of a balanced approach, which I've argued in favor of. Both
we don't need a balanced approach. You know, we need a balanced budget.
Okay,
That's what we need.
Okay, so explain why you think the tax story doesn't make any sense.
Okay, first of all, you already have 70% of taxes coming from the wealthiest.
Right.
The amount of money, even if we tax them at 100%, didn't let them keep anything, it wouldn't scratch the surface to deal with the problem.
And you think
that's the reality.
And you think this idea of fairness doesn't make sense, doesn't matter?
Fairness is exactly the point. Because someone is successful and they're working hard and they're trying to.
But when you look at the inequality in this country, when you look at the inequality in this country, when you look at where the money has gone and how it has spread this way.
You want inequality. The fact that 49% of Americans don't pay any taxes at all, that to me is inequality. If we had a much larger base where everyone paid their
federal
fair
income
share,
taxes.
Federal income taxes.
Because they're paying a lot of other taxes.
Right. Federal income.
And one of the reasons they're not is because they're elderly, they're poverty-stricken. I mean, let's be honest about sort of who these people are.
It's not 50%? Only that. It's 50% of America.
50% of the 50%. That's the number. Am I right, Steve?
I don't know.
There's a lot of people.
But let's just talk math. Let's take all the social issues out of it.
Okay.
Okay. Mathematically, it's not sustainable to have Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all the entitlement programs that we have, and have the top 10% paying for it all. It simply isn't sustainable. It's not possible.
That's right. But, Congressman, the question I have is why can't we use taxes for some of it? Why do we have to do all of it with spending?
But we are using taxes with some.
No. I mean, in terms of addition, what needs to be done.
He's talking about the balance. Is there
it just strikes me.
We're taxed to the hilt right now.
Let me just make a point. We had a tax system in the Clinton years, in the Reagan years, right? That allowed for high GDP growth. It allowed the stock market to boom. It allowed for investment. It was not so onerous to have more taxes or a higher tax rate.
The world has changed.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that. And I agree that somehow you don't want to go all the way back to the 90% marginal threshold.
You only want to go back on, if you were to let the Clinton tax, Bush tax cuts expire on everyone, you're talking about a big number.
Yeah.
You're talking about a number that's significant.
Yeah,
if you're only doing it on 250 and above on raising it.
You see, that's where I'm weird, Joe, because I agree with the congressman on broaden the base and putting back the tax cuts for the wealthy. So I'm in both camps on that.
It's not being weird. Would you let the Bush tax cuts expire for everybody?
I would let them expire for everybody. I would let them expire for everybody. And I'll tell you, let the congressman
speak. If you want to raise marginal rates, you can. I think we should lower marginal rates and get rid of all the deductions.
I think Andrew is right that we have extreme needs now from the government that have to do with Medicare and Social Security. We want to give medical care to the poor. We want to give retirement benefits to people who can't afford them, okay?
Absolutely.
And I'm saying let's make cuts in entitlements. Let's raise some taxes on the other side. But at the end of the day, the Republicans are dead set against any revenue whatsoever.
Well, I don't think they're against, and I think Paul Ryan's budget was in there about closing loopholes and so on. I think we should lower marginal rates across the board, get rid of a lot of the tax loopholes, get rid of some of these exemptions that are being exploited anyway, and broaden the base. But we got to recognize something. When we talk about history, look at the rest of the world and how they've lowered their tax rates. Take Israel. I just came back from Israel. They lowered their tax rates over a series of years, 2% a year. It built certainty into the market. Those that were investing were able to look to the future and say, okay, I know what the tax rates are going to be. We know they're going down. And they're going to make investments.
Growth will solve everything.
Absolutely. We have to raise the GDP. Absolutely.
Growth will solve almost all.
But how do we do that? Friendlier business.
We join hands and start singing Kumbaya.
Steve, you also know that maybe it was housing bubble related, but in the same structure of tax that
we had the 18%.
That wasn't mentioned. If I could make one last point, I do not believe this economy will turn around unless we get the housing market moving again.
That's right.
I really do. I think it's a major part of our. Well, there's a lot of things we're going to need to do, but certainty is a big part of it. I think we have to stop trying to
find a false bottom.
Find the false bottom. If we're going to have all the foreclosures, let it happen and let the free market be a free market. There's too much government intervention. It's not allowing the recovery.
Okay, we got to run. Our thanks to Congressman Grimm for joining us today. That was a great hour. And Steve.
Oh, that's me. Next, we put the Squawk.
He'll be coming after you as a former FBI guy. I mean, you said so much stuff today. Like, you should have taken the fifth. All self-incrimination. I don't think
when you ask Joe, I say it's a terrible thing. Next, we put the Squawk labor force to work. Diane Squawk, Mark Zandy, and Bob Truska join the countdown to the jobs report with their predictions and find out which industry always has the help wanted sign up. The answer may surprise you, and Squawk Box is coming